presentation today is on an interprofessional education and creating a national interprofessional quality framework. So we are an interprofessional and inter-university team. See myself here from OT in INHWE Galway. We have Sinead McMahon from Physio in UCD, Donna Quigley from Speech and Language Therapy in Trinity, and Anne-Marie Bennett from Dietetics in Trinity, Aoife Hunter from OT in UCC, and a clinician OT from the National Rehabilitation Hospital in Dunleary. So this is a grant funded by the National Health Services Executive, particularly the Health and Social Care Professions Office. And the grant was to develop a national quality framework for practice education for health and social care professionals. And just to note that the data is provisional because it's not been finally accepted by the funders yet, but obviously, hopefully it will be. So what is a health and social care professional? In Ireland, the Health and Social Care Professions Office define all of these professions as fitting within that category. And basically it's everyone except medicine and nursing. So there's about 19 professions there. So we started the project at stage 1 with a scoping review. The protocol was published by the Joanna Briggs Institute of Australia. And the scope was any publication, any research, any policy, any framework on quality of placements, specifically for health and social care professionals. And we looked at 6 databases, but also many international professional body websites. We found 57 papers. So it's just to start off, there was 2 overarching themes that came from the scoping review, and the first one, by far the largest, was pedagogy, and these are the themes that were generated. So theme 1 was, and the numbers there show frequency. So theme 1 was a welcome, personalised environment, so the students welcomed to the workplace, the educator knows their learning style and needs, and they personalise the placement to the student. Theme 2 was educator attributes that facilitate learning. The educator is skilled and knowledgeable, they're a good role model, and they're enthusiastic, approachable, and committed to student education. Theme 3 was the development of students' practice thinking. So it's time to talk and discuss, developing the students' reasoning and decision making, and facilitating the application of theory and evidence-based practice. Theme 4 was the development of practice skills. So it's grading the student to work to become autonomous and working with others in a team, and a variety of learning opportunities provided. Theme 5 is the students empowered to be a self-directed learner. So they're very clear about the expectations of performance, and they're encouraged to be self-directed, and also they're facilitated to their self-evaluation and reflection. And theme 6 is evaluation, assessment and feedback. So fair formative feedback, fair final assessment and summative feedback, and feedback from the team. So the second theme that came from the scoping review was governance, with the most prevalent being on the right side of the green and the least being the orange on the left side. So for the higher education institute, the university, they should have manuals and standards in place, provide training, and ensure students are prepared for placement. Practice educators should be registered and competent, communicate to the student prior to the placement, have clear expectations, and seek a continual self-improvement as a teacher. There has to be collaboration between the university and the organisations that are taking students, and agreements in place between those 2 organisations, regular meetings and ongoing support for students throughout placements. The actual teams that take the students then should be a culture of commitment to students, a key contact person, and a commitment to capacity. And finally, the students themselves need to be prepared for the placement and have a good attitude to learning. So that it came up that they should be professional, willing to learn, positive attitude, maintaining good relationship. So after the scoping review, we went to stage 2, where we did national consultation. This was all done under research ethics, and and there were meetings run nationally. For students, there were 7 meetings, 9 professions were represented and 27 students attended. For clinicians, managers and professional body representatives, there were 5 meetings nationally, 11 professions represented with 63 participants. And something that did not come up in the literature at all, but we felt was an important addition because they are a stakeholder in practice education service users, quite a difficult group to get to engage in this kind of research, but we did manage to get 2 meetings and 14 service users. So the approach at these meetings was a nominal group technique. This is a consensus technique where participants are asked to individually brainstorm their answers to the research question, which was what factors constitute a quality placement. Then individually, each participant is asked to put forward an item which is recorded on a flip chart, and that is continued until all items are included. So at that point, they're allowed to discuss what's been put on the chart. They check for duplicates, ensure that they have understanding and meaning, the correct language is used, and a final list is agreed. And then they have to individually rank their views of what's the most important. And we ask them to give 15 points for their most important item and 1 down to 1 for their least important. So then you just add up all the marks and you have your results from the meeting. So the findings were across all of those meetings, absolutely no consistency of what was, in the ranked items, but there was consistency in content in relation. There was no new information really. Everything that came up was similar to what came up in the scoping review and related to pedagogy and governance. But what was very interesting was the service users. We predicted that they would want things like consent and supervisor ensuring that the student was correct, but none of that came up at all. The service users, the most important thing was communication. They wanted the students to talk to them appropriately, to tailor the language to them. They wanted to be asked how they were, to be friendly and kind, and they wanted a comprehensive introduction. There was more things they wanted, this is just the top 3, but it was all to do with communication. So the next thing was creating standards. So we had this vast a range of ranked items from all these meetings. So we began to map those. We were informed by the scoping review findings, and we developed 6 overarching standards. So each standard has quality indicators, and these were measurable items generated from the top 15 ranked items from each meeting. So these were the standards. We have 1 on governance from universities, 1 and 2. So the Higher Education Institute has policies and procedures in place that operationally manage the placement system, and that had 10 quality indicators. Standard 2, the HEI has a responsibility to lead on ongoing quality improvements and developments in practice, 2 quality indicators. By the largest one was Pedagogy, which is standard 3 with 19 quality indicators. Placement providers have a responsibility to provide a student-centred, safe learning environment where students develop and demonstrate professional behaviour and practice competence to the expected standard. The 4th, with 9 indicators, the HEI has the responsibility to ensure that the placement is appropriate and prepared for taking the students on placement. Standard 5 is about students' preparedness, 7 quality indicators here. The student takes responsibility for their own learning while on placement. And standard 6 is the service users. The student communicates to the service users to their expected standard, and that had 15. Some discussion around this, whether it should be included, because many competency assessment forms include a section on communication, but because this was the service users' a very clear message to us, we've included it as a standard. So then we had this draft framework. So we went out using Delphi consensus methodology to all the participants of the groups, but also asked them to snowball sample those to colleagues. We had 2 rounds. The first round, all the quality indicators and the standards received consensus bar one, and one was added, and this through the second round was confirmed. So the one added one was a student will take responsibility for their health and well-being during the placement and will disclose any issues that might impair their ability. So that came under the standard for students' attributes. So now we have a quality framework that's been agreed through nationally and through the consensus, but a framework is only as good as how it's applied, and so we decided we had to do some form of audit mechanism. So we had to convert quality indicators to audit statements. And we did this through a consultation with an expert panel. We had 21 participants from 10 professions to look at the face and content validity of the audit tool. It was a very distinct process. We had a survey, results to that went back to participants, then we had a meeting, and then there was final reviews. And so that has resulted in the development of 2 audit tools called the NIPIT, the National Interprofessional Practice Placement Evaluation Tools. And there's one for practice educators and one for students. So the NIPIT very basically looks like this, with the standard and the audit statement that links to the quality indicator. And there was agreement that we went with the indicator was met to high standard, not met, or not applicable, or not sure. So we're finalising this at the moment. The NIPIT, the practice education and the student NIPIT, which relates to standard 3, 4 and 5, are out at the moment, being tested for retest reliability. We're developing self-audit tools for the first 2 standards, which is about governance from the universities, and we're developing a service user audit tool. So once all of these processes have been developed, the 3 different audit mechanisms, we will launch the whole framework nationally, and then we plan to do an evaluation. So that's the process that we've used. That's the scoping review reference for the scoping review, the protocol.
Thank you, Carol. That was a very nice presentation and very systematic. So, and I think it's a very important topic, placement.
To talk about the Sri Lankan undergraduate healthcare students' perception on interprofessional learning. This is kind of cross-sectional study. In here, when I provide introduction about this interprofessional learning, it is a primary aim to reduce prejudices among professionals, improve awareness of the roles and duties of the professional groups, and advance teamwork and collaborative competencies. This study was conducted in order to assess perception of undergraduate healthcare professional students on interprofessional education and learning in Sri Lanka. You know that Sri Lanka interprofessional education and practice, actually some level of this practice and education exists, but in the curriculum it's not focused due to this reason. So I wanted to investigate about the readiness of interprofessional learning of the students who follow 4-degree programs, which is including medicine, nursing, pharmacy, occupational therapy. This study was done across 2 universities, state universities in Sri Lanka. So this cross-sectional study focuses on undergraduate health professional students, and there were 300 students were participated for this study. This was the purposive sampling method I have applied for this purpose of data collection. The quantitative data were collected through 19 items, validated and modified questionnaire. The readiness for interprofessional learning scales, that it's contained 4 subscales: teamwork and collaboration, negative professional identity, positive professional identity, and roles and responsibilities. This scale revised by McFadden 2005 and was used to measure the undergraduate healthcare students' attitudes towards interprofessional teams and readiness for interprofessional education. To evaluate this, for this analysis, I have used SPSS, and the mean and standard deviations of scores were calculated. Sorry. In this diagram, in this table, you can see the demographic characteristics of the respondents. So majority of the respondents were female, and female students less than female component. So MBBS, nursing, and medical pharmacy and occupational therapy students were take as sample of this study. In this table, it's describe about the students who completing the RIPLS questionnaire. So according to this table, we can see the highest score for teamwork and collaboration was 37.08, and the lowest mean score were identified for negative from professional identity. The mean score for positive professional identity is 15.3. However, for roles and responsibilities indicate 9.8 mean score students who have completing RIPLS questionnaire. This, when we compare the RIPLS score by gender, there's a gender difference we can identify based on the findings. According to the table, an average male mean score 67.38 and female mean score 70.30. RIPLS score was significantly different between gender according to the findings. The ANOVA results on this each of the 4 subscales revealed a statistically different between negative professional identity and gender. Compare with each item and gender, the highest mean score 37.74 indicated by female respondents for teamwork and collaboration. The slight gender differences were recognized for positive and roles and responsibilities compared with male gender. The male gender mean score is higher only for the subscale of negative professional identity. Statistical differences were identified between genders and subscales and genders. So when we compare with the all 4 scales, teamwork and collaboration, the score was high. Higher mean score were obtained for teamwork and collaboration from the students. This is the table. This table explained about the students who participated from each degree program and their mean scores. And here how this scale consists with the 4-point Likert scale: strongly disagree, neutral, and agree. The results of this table, you can see the entire data were tested for sealing of 4 effects of identify the students' attitudes on IPE. Respondents between this 29.7 and 53% gave the highest rating for teamwork and collaboration, as mentioned, that it strongly agree with this component, the questionnaires, which including the questions items, including the teamwork and collaboration. They were strongly agree with the majority of the respondents. When I conclude my presentation, this analysis produced the level of undergraduate healthcare students' readiness for interprofessional learning in Sri Lanka. The major challenge encountered for this study were unable to include all the disciplines related to healthcare education. Actually, in Sri Lanka, recently this study was health professional education for different disciplines are still in develop and introduced in many universities recently. The possible weakness of this study is that the student survey did not have some previous exposure to interprofessional learning through their program of study and unequal number of samples. Moreover, the authors have found no comparable study in Sri Lankan context about IPE which align with results obtained in this study. There were no study have done by using this scale to investigate the readiness of interprofessional learning in Sri Lankan education system, health education system. The findings of this study suggest the undergraduate students have positive perception on IPE and they have an idea on necessity of IPE learning during the program of study. The need of IPE learning during the health professional education degree programs would be essential for the countries like Sri Lanka to manage effective patient care. The results indicate that the level of perception of undergraduate healthcare students on IPE. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chulani. So that's it's quite interesting. In fact, one of my PhD students a few years ago looked at a similar sort of thing in Australia, and there is definitely a difference between the different professions, and I think we still have got a long way to go. So, but thank you for a very interesting presentation, and I just invite everyone to make to raise questions if you have got them.
My presentation is about a big project that was financed by the government, and one of the work packages that I was working in was about service design thinking and interprofessional collaboration in Finnish social and healthcare education. And our interprofessional team looked like this. There was teachers from nursing programs, from design, from social care, from ICT and engineering, from physiotherapy and occupational therapy. So we were really an interprofessional team here, and we have a lot of this collaborate cognition that we heard about in the first presentation. So it was really interesting to listen to Colin Greengrass in that case also. The background to the project was the government's will to somehow implement digital methods and also this interprofessional collaboration in the social healthcare education, because in Finland we don't have a tradition about interprofessional work in social and healthcare. It's really hierarchical and structured in silos where every profession has its own tasks to do, and the horizontal collaboration is not so common, if I say it like that. This project, Sotepeda 24/7, the word comes from sote, means social and healthcare in Finnish, and peda from pedagogic, has an own website. So if anybody wants to look at it, you can find it there. There is some of the material in English, but not so much. It was funded by the Finnish Ministry of Education and Culture, and it was one of their main projects for the 2 years that it lasted. It started in 2018 and was ended now in the end of last year. So the project is now finished. And And also the focus was more to produce products for or material for education, not so much in research, but we tried to do also some small research in the end of the project. The project was coordinated by Laura University of Applied Sciences in Helsinki, and there was 24 partner universities, 2 universities and 22 universities of applied sciences. So it was a really huge project, and it took time before we came so long in the project that we had the possibility to do the things, because the beginning was really messy because of the many partners. So it's not good to have too many partners in the projects either. The aims of the project was to develop the expertise of education, students and working life representatives in digital pedagogy, in services within the professional approach, and to define also what kind of competencies are needed in the future multidisciplinary and interprofessional health and social care. And this is one of the main tasks in the whole project. It was like a string in the project, so it went through all the 7 work packages that the project contained. It was also to implement competencies to a national curriculum in social and healthcare. So that is really just beginning after the project ended. It was also to create an ethical action model for digital services in healthcare and the social sector in Finland. So it was quite a lot things to do, and we probably didn't reach all the goals that we had. The pedagogical approach was to create new digital courses and pedagogical approaches for the whole country that ensure fluent year-round 24/7 digital learning paths for students and also for working life people, professional people in working life, and they can do these courses whenever they want, wherever they are. It was also to create learning badges to somehow coordinate competencies, and also to create multidisciplinary and interprofessional community for digital learning, and for develop health and social care services and other professions, and involve other professions that we need for the development of the digital parts. And that's when this work package 4 with the service design strongly comes in. The material and the online courses that were made in the project are all license free, so everything can be downloaded and used for free, and it's stored in a database called AOE.fi, and there you can find today everything that was produced in the project, and take it to your own education, and also use it as it is, or take parts of the courses and the MOOCs that are you can find here in this database. So this was the government's intent to make this free pedagogical material for everybody to use. Most of the courses are unfortunately in Finnish. There are something in Swedish and English, but most of the content is in Finnish. So if you want to have it in Swedish, for example, my school has education in Swedish and English, then we have to translate everything. Service design and ICP in the social and healthcare was the content of the work package 4, and where this interprofessional team that I mentioned in the beginning was working. And service design is also one of these big trends in Finland now, especially in social and healthcare. And there are many private companies that are giving service design services to the healthcare, and they have been used also a couple of years now. Service design focuses on user experience, so the patient experience and the personal care and person-centered care is one of the key cores in service design, and the development of the patient's path in the service system also focuses on this user's experience. And I think this is something new for the working force in social and healthcare in Finland to think about the patient's path from the user experience. And this presentation focuses now on this interprofessional collaboration and knowledge of service design that we made in the work package 4. And we involved teachers in Finnish higher education, mostly teachers in social and healthcare education. Person-centered approach and the whole idea of service design includes a really strong implication of ICP, and you cannot do service design without ICP. So it's crucial to get a wider perspective of the social and healthcare service system. So it's really important now, and it's coming from everywhere. So we somehow have to implement this ICP also now in social and healthcare education. Working life is also involved, and ICP-based courses in education aim to focus on developing students' creative confidence and IPC skills. And here we can see some of the students sitting with a problem that they had to solve. And here they also work in collaborative teams. So I think this is some kind of team-based learning in practice, because they have to be in these teams. They have to create this collaborative contents, and they have to think and learn from each other. And the courses that we did in this work package were created for participants with different professions in working life, and also students from diverse programs. So we try to involve students from, for example, nursing, social care, engineering, business, and ICT in our school, because this is those programs that we have. We don't have, for example, physiotherapy education or occupational therapy. So we have to use those programs that we have. The aim is also to engage hands-on design challenges that focuses on key core service design, and the students had this really concrete problem to solve. The key core of service design, I already mentioned a little about that, but it's to develop interprofessional collaboration and empathy, promoting a bias towards action. So it's a concrete action, encouraging ideas from different perspectives. There we have this collaborative ideas, collaborative cognition, because we have these people from different kinds of professions. It's also to build tangible prototypes in new service concepts. So the students in the courses build concrete service concepts. They do it with different methods. This is also developing a metacognitive awareness and fostering creative problem solving with interprofessional approach. This is really the key core. We had time to make a small questionnaire in the end of the project, and that was meant to somehow get knowledge about how teachers in universities of applied sciences apply and develop the idea of ICP and service design. And the teachers that we sent the questionnaire to was from social and healthcare education. And you can see that we sent 473 online questionnaires, but we got answers only from 172. So it's not a big part who answered the questionnaire, and we had not time to send it many times. We sent it 3 times, but we got only these 172 answers. Those answers we though analyzed, and we found that about 85 of 172 knew well or very well the idea of service design, including ICP. But I have to admit that service design was something really new for me before I started this working in this project. I had no clue about what service design could mean in social and healthcare, but I've learned a lot, and I think that it's very important. 38% were aware of the processes needed in service design. So not many, but some of the teachers knew something about service design. 32% answered that they knew service design well or very well. 28% of the teachers that were asked knew that they knew how to use service design processes and methods in teaching well or very well. I think that the most of them were from the bigger universities of applied sciences who have this design programs that focuses more on design that gave these answers. And here we can see the processes when they are doing the patient's path in some social and health service. So they really make it concrete with Legos. Only 26% knew how to use service design methods or solve problems in working life. So it was not so many, and I have to admit that I would have been one of these if I had answered this questionnaire. 57% thought that service design is important in developing social and healthcare in the future, and this gives us also some ideas how to work in the future. Implications. Better brainstorms. Here we can go back also to Colin Greengrass's presentation. According to the results, it seems that education in social and healthcare education had an idea that they needed service design and IPC as important parts of developing education and also in developing working life. So we try also to involve the hospitals and the primary care in this, so they've got this information also. However, the skills to combine design thinking and social and healthcare have to be developed somehow in the future, and that is going to be done with the national curriculum. This education package developed also developed in the Sotepeda project, and it can be used to increase the knowledge of students and teachers, and try to implement these skills in all the universities of applied sciences who are teaching future nurses. And ICP is crucial for development. We cannot do this without interprofessional collaboration. I'm sorry, I have the wrong way. The knowledge gained in Sotepeda 27 project can be integrated in collaborative interprofessional courses for students, and that we have already developed. We have in the curriculum these collaborative courses. It gives also a possibility to create and give competence for interprofessional collaboration in the future working life. And finally, one of the key objectives of this big Sotepeda project was to increase the knowledge and competence of interprofessional approach. So one of the work packages focused just on this interprofessional approach in social and healthcare. In this service design package, it was a key core in the subject. we need also this ICP, IPC in developing future social and healthcare and digital alternatives, because we have to go the patient's path. So we have to start with the patient and then make the developing of the services from the patient's point of view. This will be done by producing digital materials for teaching, and that we have done. And also by training teachers to become service design mentors in their own universities. So now we have 1 or 2 or 3 mentors in service design in all the participating universities. And here are all the logos of the universities that participated in the project. So
thank you, Sirkku.
Yes, thank you.
That's all right. Thank you. And the thought that came to me, I think with so many different stakeholders, I think one of the challenging issues to facilitate ownership, you know, so that people feel that they are part of it and that there is some ownership over what's going to be developed. And in the meantime, while you answer that, I will invite anyone who has got questions just to use the chat function.